Last season, man, Brandon Staley, if you're watching this, you let me down. You really let me down because in your first year ever as the defensive coordinator for the LA Rams, you turned that defense from being middle of the pack to the best defense in the NFL in the span of one season. Then you go to the Chargers, and last year your defense just completely bombs. I was extremely disappointed with how the Chargers defense performed last season. And it was really astonishing. And there were many people saying, JT, why are you so surprised the defense is this bad? You didn't see this coming? Heck no, I didn't see this coming. I'm pretty sure a lot of you Chargers fans watching this didn't expect the defense to be as bad as what it was last year. You were pretty much dead last in almost every statistical category possible. And it's not as if the Chargers defense had no talent at all. This was a defense that was pretty talented on paper going into the 2021 NFL season. But last year, you were 29th in points per game allowed. You had pretty much one of the worst run defenses in the NFL, like 138.9 rushing yards per game. Not only that, but you couldn't get off the field on third down, and you couldn't get stops in the red zone. So pretty much, this defense couldn't get off the field. So no wonder this offense had to outscore everybody to win games. So going into this year, how improved is this Chargers defense going to be? Now, we got to start on the defensive line. Jerry Tillery is coming off the best season of his career. 4.5 sacks, 51 tackles. He was pretty solid when it came to getting after the quarterback. However, despite coming off his best season, his fifth-year option still got declined. And remind you that the Chargers general manager doesn't really decline fifth-year options all that often for his first-round draft picks. So I'm thinking that they're looking for more out of Jerry Tillery when it comes to his improvement in the run game. And I think their general manager also came out and said that don't pay too much attention to the fifth-year option. If he ends up having another good season when he's still productive, getting after the quarterback, he'll probably end up getting an extension. But I think that they are expecting more out of him when it comes to what he brings to the run defense. And even then, you still would like his pass rushing production to improve as well. But you did sign defensive tackles Austin Johnson, Sebastian Joseph Day, which those are two really good run defenders who are going to help improve the interior of your defensive line. Then you also have a rookie out of UCLA named Otito Ogbonnia. He was a fifth-round pick out of UCLA. He's 6'4", 324 pounds. He's really powerful, has good upside to become a really solid player, not only in the run game, but in the passing game as well. He's probably going to be used more as a run stopper and short yardage sets, heavy sets when they're on the goal line or it's third and inches and everybody has their big boys and they're going 12, 13 personnel on the offensive end of things, and that's when you're going to bring in Ogbonnia. So linebacker, it was kind of surprising that the Chargers didn't really do anything to improve the linebacker position. And then on top of that, you lost Kazir White. What's going on with Kenneth Murray? I mean, the dude was looking like Dorothy out there last season. He was just looking lost. And I'm not trying to call him out or anything. I'm just saying that I was really surprised at how he performed last year. According to Pro Football Focus, they said that he was one of the worst linebackers in the league. I really couldn't believe it. Now, Drew Tranquill is pretty solid. Then you bring in Troy Reeder. So maybe Troy Reeder gives Kenneth Murray some competition for that other inside linebacker spot. But I was kind of surprised at the performance that Kenneth Murray had last year. And maybe Brandon Staley doesn't really care about having great linebacker play, because I believe during his time with the Rams, I don't think their linebackers were anything to write home about neither. So I'm guessing he really only cares about the talent on the defensive line and the back end of the secondary, which is the strength of this Chargers football team. The defensive line is solid, and your pass rush just got better because you already have Joey Bosa. We know what he brings to the table: 10.5 sacks, 7 forced fumbles, and 5 tackles for loss last year. But you also trade for Khalil Mack, which you pretty much stole from the Chicago Bears. He played in 7 games last year and only had 6 sacks. Think about that. 6 sacks in only 7 games. Imagine if he would have played the whole entire season. He probably would have once again had double-digit sacks. So you pair him up with Joey Bosa, this is one of the best pass rushing duos in the NFL. At cornerback, you have Asante Samuel Jr., who is coming off a pretty solid rookie year. I'm not going to say his rookie year was great because people look at the numbers, and he did have some pretty big moments, but overall, his rookie season was kind of up and down if you're looking at it from, an unbiased standpoint. And somebody made a good point about him on Twitter. A lot of people kind of think that he's better than what he actually is because of his last name and who his dad was. When his dad played, his dad was one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL during the time. And I can kind of understand that. Asante Samuel's rookie season wasn't as great as what some people make it out to be. There are people that make it seem like he had the best rookie season out of all of the rookie cornerbacks last year, and it's not really true. But his rookie season wasn't bad. It was solid. It had some ups, it had some downs, but you definitely like what you saw for him. 11 pass deflections and 2 picks. You have J.C. Jackson, who you paid a boatload of money to. You was bringing up the bricks trucks to his house. One of the best cornerbacks in the NFL over the last couple of seasons. One of the more underrated cornerbacks also. 8 interceptions, 23 pass deflections. You bring in Bryce Callahan, who's going to be filling in that slot position at cornerback expectedly. And then at safety, you have Derwin James, who is the best safety in the NFL. 118 tackles, 2 sacks, 7 tackles for loss, 5 pass deflections, and had 2 interceptions. And Nazir Adderley is coming off a really productive season as well. So this Chargers defense definitely should improve tremendously. It should be a night and day difference. There's no reason why this cannot be a top 10 defense this year. And anything less than a top 10 defense, top 12, is as low as I'm willing to accept out of Brandon Staley. Listen, it's been a while since I gave this speech, but I'm going to give it again. If you are an offensive-minded coach, and you specialize on the offensive side of football, right? And you become a head coach, the offense should not be the worst part of your team. If you are a defensive-minded coach like Brandon Staley, and you specialize on the defense side of the football, right? The defense should never be the worst part of your team. And the defense should never be as bad as what it was last year. But, apparently, according to many people out there, the system or the scheme that Brandon Staley loves to run on defense requires that he has elite level players on the defensive line and on the back end of the secondary. So I can understand that because when you look back to his season as the defensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Rams that year, they had a lot of talented players on the defensive line. They had a lot of talent on the back end of that secondary. So I can understand it. And it also makes sense why they went out and they got Khalil, Mack, and they also improved their interior of the defensive line because they want to be more stout in the run game. So I think this is definitely a Chargers defense that should take tremendous steps. This definitely is a team that should go from the worst defense to one of the worst to one of the best defenses in the NFL this season. So let me know how you guys are feeling about the LA Chargers defense going into the upcoming 2022 NFL season. And I appreciate you guys for listening to this episode of the JT Sports Podcast. Make sure that you guys leave a 5-star review. You can check out the JT Sports Podcast on all podcasting platforms: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts from. The JT Sports Podcast is available. And I will see you guys with another episode shortly.